NATO chief, who
Mark.
is your friend. He called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No. He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
While we leave Trump to focus on his daddy issues, we're here to tell you everything that you should be talking about today. I'm Hannah Moldavan, Deputy Communications Director for the Democrats, and your host today. It's Thursday, June 26th, and this is the Daily Blueprint. So here's what we should be focusing on. The more Americans, including Republicans, who learn about Trump's budget bill for billionaires, the less they like it. And at a time when prices are going up and everything just feels a little bit harder, Trump and Republicans are trying to jam through a bill that wreaks the economy even more for the ultra wealthy at the expense of everybody else. Democrats are fighting tooth and nail to stop this thing, so let's get into it. Right now, Senate Republicans are fighting over provisions to get into this bill, also known as a reconciliation bill. So to break it down, reconciliation is a specific legislative tool that's designed to focus a bill on the budget. Most importantly, it only needs a simple majority to pass the Senate, making it a sneaky way for Trump and MAGA Republicans to push through their dangerous agenda. Tomorrow, the Senate is on track to begin voting on this reconciliation package, and we're hearing votes could get well into the weekend, with House passage potentially as early as next week. But first, right now, Democrats are in a knife fight with Republicans to try to kick out specific parts of the bill that are truly just awful. So let's take a look at some of our wins. First, in breaking news, the Senate parliamentarian who decides what makes it in the bill or not just struck down a number of Republicans' attacks on Medicaid. Let's be clear here, this is huge. We're closely tracking and we'll let you know what the specifics are once we have them, but this results in a huge blow to Republicans' plans to take away healthcare and a huge win for Democrats and the American people. Meanwhile, one of these other provisions is from Republican Senator Mike Lee, who's hell-bent on selling millions of acres of publicly owned land in 11 Western states, all to develop third homes and gated communities for billionaires. But following fierce advocacy from Senate Democrats like Maria Cantwell from Washington, the Senate parliamentarian nixed his proposal. Let's listen to Senator Cantwell lay into Lee's absurd plan.
We will be here to the very last minute, making sure that they do not succeed in putting this into a bill. And if they do, we will be there with an amendment fighting it tooth and nail on the Senate floor.
But Senator Lee is still going. He's doubling down on a revised proposal despite backlash from around the country. Let's take a look.
Not for sale, 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 not.
Let's keep that pressure up. Public lands are not for sale. And Democrats like Representative Teresa Ledger Fernandez continue to sound the alarm.
Make sure that the senators know this is a bad idea. We only need 4 Republican senators to stand with the Democrats to vote no. And then we defeat this horrible idea of giving away our beautiful lands to wealthy developers.
So just to take a step back here and be really clear, this bill sucks. It takes away healthcare from 16 million people and jeopardizes food assistance that nearly 42 million Americans rely on. And Republicans are fighting to keep these and other horrible provisions in the bill. And the craziest part about this is that Republicans know how bad and unpopular the bill is. Yesterday, we told you about how House Republicans and Senator John Thune are panicking about backlash against the bill. Well, now Speaker Mike Johnson is joining the panic parade. He's raising the alarm about Senate Republicans throwing away the Republican majority in the House because of the bill's deep cuts to Medicaid. That's right, he's afraid of losing his speakership. Democrats know these cuts to Medicaid are unpopular. Republicans know these cuts to Medicaid are unpopular. And now they're finally realizing that you know that they're unpopular too. Let's keep up the pressure. So while Trump and Republicans are racing to the finish line on this bill, Democrats aren't slowing down the fight. Yesterday, Senator Amy Klobuchar held a press conference with representatives from national advocacy groups, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, Moms Rising, and SEIU, underscoring the grave impacts this legislation would have for real people.
The fight to protect Medicaid is deeply personal to our members because this bill it's not a budget, it's a full-on assault on working people. The House bill, frankly, was ruthless and it was inhumane. But the Senate bill is even more devastating. It contains cruel and unprecedented cuts to Medicaid and also the Affordable Care Act that will leave millions without the care that they need and that they deserve.
She's right. These impacts will have a ripple effect on Americans who are having a hard time right now anyway. And Trump's budget is just going to make life harder. And Democrats don't believe this is right. It's not right. We'll keep shouting that from the rooftops. And while Democrats continue to fight against this bill on Capitol Hill, Democratic attorneys general across the country are taking action. This week, they filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration for cutting federal grants already awarded by Congress. Trump can't just cut billions of dollars because agencies don't align with his twisted priorities, and his budget cuts completely undermine precedent. Republicans are screwing over the American people, and they know it. That's why they're not showing up to town halls. If you remember, Mike Johnson told his representatives, don't show up to town halls. They're hiding from us, but we won't let them get away with it. Democratic attorneys general are listening to our concerns and talking to people who are worried about Trump's unconstitutional power, and rightfully so. Here's what Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield had to say at a recent forum.
Back case, what you have is a Trump administration that is continually making decisions in the dark. They're doing it without public input. That is not how a democracy is supposed to work. And that is why you have Democratic attorneys general hosting these forums across this country to actually shed light on the things that they're doing, to hear from you about how these decisions are impacting you. Because what we have found is in these conversations with each and every one of you, this sometimes helps us better represent our communities. We learn things that we ordinarily wouldn't hear. These things have resulted in lawsuits.
We'll be following along as this case works its way through the courts. And finally, and what you can do today as Senate Republicans continue to decide just how far they're willing to go to cut essential services like Medicaid, it's more important than ever to remind them that a vote to cut Medicaid will be remembered at the ballot box. Pressure them to vote no. Whether it's calling them out online or calling their office, you have the power in your voice. If you live in a state with a Republican senator, text call to 43367. And thanks for joining us today for this episode of the Daily Blueprint. We'll be right here with you every day at 10 a.m. on the DNC's YouTube page.